Hi everyone, good to see you on my channel today. Today I will tell you a wonderful story. It is full of love and kindness. I hope you enjoy it and I wish you an enjoyable viewing experience. Thank you.
It's been 3 years since I came back to life finally. There was peace and understanding in the family. The court, where I was summoned as a witness, returned for a short time to the nightmare from which I had recently recovered. As best I could, I chased that cruel vision away from me, but I could not get rid of it at all. When Walker was led into the courtroom in handcuffs, I shuddered. His features were hard, animal-like, predatory rather than human. To disobey him at a moment's notice was fraught with consequences. That's probably why his friends did everything and followed him through fire and water. The crazy look of this very young guy had long ago lost its human appearance. Anger at the whole world did not give him rest. Blaming everyone for his failures, but not himself, he had the animal rage of a real monster. He considered his enemies those who thought differently from him, those who were more successful and happier. And this beast was capable of many things, if you let him. Answering boorishly to questions, this scumbag played with fire. He was never interested in what others would say or think of him. He even dared to ask me questions. So, you're still alive? Pity. I guess we didn't give you a good beating. You're a good fighter though. Well, fuck you, live, but remember, you can't take other people's stuff. The judge made some remarks to him that he didn't respond to. John was in court. He came up to me and apologized. That's when I saw a man cry for the first time. Selena walked by as if she and I had never met. I looked at that feathered wonder and wondered what I'd ever laid my eyes on. Walker got 12 years in prison. His buddies got less. About Selena and her father, the judge said that people didn't kill anyone, didn't steal, and are still moral criminals. I felt sorry for John. He sat with his head down, not looking at anyone. When I heard the judge's gavel bang, I breathed a sigh of relief that at last the session was over. As the defendants were led away, Walker shouted for Selena to wait for him. That was the end of the horror, and Veronica and I went home. I walked around sick for another week afterward, with a smirking Walker and the judge banging his gavel endlessly in front of me. What made us happy were the kids. Alex was a good student, and it was obvious that he had his daddy's brains. He was ahead of his peers in his studies. I developed a friendly relationship with my son. He looked at me suspiciously at first, but gradually got used to my presence in the house and took it for granted. But the relationship with Victoria did not work out. She was small and seemed to accept me at once. But it was not so. Never went to my arms, but honestly, if I admit, I was not particularly worried. I had no feelings for the child, and Veronica saw that. I tried. It seemed to me that I even overplayed somewhere. Maybe my daughter felt it and even called me uncle instead of daddy. On this ground, we often argued and quarreled with my wife, but then we reconciled, and for a while the house was in order. I tried to find out from my parents if Veronica had meant maybe it was not my child if I did not feel anything for her. After these questions, I had a fight with my parents too. No one knew I took the DNA test. I didn't even bring it home. I looked at it, made sure the baby was mine and tore it up and threw it in the trash. I felt better, but I still didn't have feelings for the child, although I became much more tolerant towards her. For a long time could not look Veronica in the eyes, was ashamed that I doubted her decency, although the wife never gave reason. She was also attentive to me, looked amazing, had time to look after herself and the house. Where there was surgical cleanliness, I was again engaged in science, which was unspeakably happy. I had no idea that Victor would change so much after this tragedy, but realizing the stress he has been through, I am ready to support him in everything. Definitely, he has flaws, and who doesn't? Everyone knows that there are no perfect people. My mom says I spoil him. He doesn't do anything at home. He used to invite you to the theater, to restaurants, but now, I don't listen to what my mom says because every time I go to my parents' house, she talks about the same thing. Mom, you make me sound like I have the worst husband ever. I didn't say that. I just want to remind you that you're a beautiful woman, not a workhorse. I keep silent. I look away. It's useless to argue with Mom because I feel that she's right about something and it hurts me even more. The wet salt burns my eyelashes, but I try not to show my mother my tears or my momentary weakness will give her food for more doubts about my husband. Until today, I haven't changed my opinion of Victor, but sometimes I want to face the truth and then on the reasoning of my mother to answer me nothing. I won't pretend to be a strong woman. It's hard for me, but I'll never tell my mom about it. We'll get through this. Of course, hiding the truth from my mom is hard as hell. She reads everything from my eyes and what's written on my forehead. It's annoying, even though I don't believe it. It's more like a mom's heart is restless for her crazy daughter who loves her husband no matter what. I really want to believe that I'm doing this for a reason, and Victor will appreciate it. Otherwise, it's just not worth looking for him. That last thought scares me, and I push it as far away as I can. My mom looks at me fondly. You should have been born somewhere in an Arab country where men are allowed much more than women. All temptations are allowed by law. I understand that mom only wants me to be happy, but what can I do? I chose that happiness years ago, and I'm guarding it as best I can. Okay, Mom, your sermons are over for today. We'll continue next time. I'd love to talk to you about something else if you loved yourself a little more than your genius. We say goodbye and I head home, thinking about how we're going to spend the weekend. My son's birthday is coming up, so we're going to give him a party. He deserves it. He's getting straight A's, he's taking English lessons, and he's making progress. He reads fluently and talks like an adult. I don't like that very much. He's still a child, but I'm reassured that it's only his wishes. After Victor's return, he hasn't found a common language with his daughter. I can see he's a little distant from her, and she's ignoring him. It scares me, and I tell her every chance I get how good our daddy is, how smart and handsome. She looks at me carefully, nods, and continues to ignore him as well. The relationship with Alex is better. They have a lot of common interests, and his father teaches him a lot. At least it's idyllic here. Victor treats me evenly. The passion is gone, but I calm myself with the fact that we used it all up before the children were born, and now we have a calm and emotionless relationship. Somewhere in the depths of my soul, I think that it should not be so. For the last time, he has not once said that he loves me. And I would like to hear from my favorite man such confessions, well, at least on his birthday. But begging for love, of course, I will not. I have always trusted my husband, and it seemed to me that call me to the ends of the world, even without thinking, went after him, without looking back at the shouts of my mother that this is madness. I wouldn't do that now. With apparent prosperity, much has changed in our family, but I still expect that Victor will return, at least partially, but the hope every day more and more melts. Sometimes I cringe when he brings up that life of his too often. Do you want to prolong your agony? And mine too? You enjoy wallowing in your misery. You feel sorry for yourself, as if I'm to blame for your misery. Victor, I understand how you feel when your memory takes you back to 5 years ago. But maybe you should stop feeling sorry for yourself and clinging to the past, especially if it brings nothing but misery. This is not an option. You are a man, you have a family, 2 children, and most importantly a son, who takes an example from his father. So be an example to him. When there are desires, there will always be opportunities. When you love, you accept a person, says Victor with resentment. Didn't I accept you? Only I want you to part with your past, but you keep looking back, and it seems to me that you want to go back to it. Don't rush me, it's gonna happen, and I don't think he believes it, Victor. But I hug him, look into his eyes, and realize that my naive dreams will never come true. The problems in my family and with my parents began when I could not prove at work that my project was worthy of a doctoral dissertation. It was a bold step for several years ahead in the field of information security. It was my profile, and I was sure it was the bomb. But when I presented my work to Archie, he looked at me carefully and said that this work would not be suitable for a doctoral thesis. Why? I asked him curiously. It's plagiarized. You watch your words. I still have my own head on my shoulders, and I don't be other people's thoughts. So you do, if your thoughts coincide with John's. So he's the one who stole the idea from me. I don't think so, Archie said. He turned in his project a week ago. And he's already shown you that zest you're so proud of in his project. So you don't believe me? I'm filled with a rage that prevents me from thinking straight. Victor, we're not playing a game. Believe it or not, this is serious work that John's been working on for a long time. You want a scandal? Victor said with a challenge. You'll get one. Of course, I was shocked that this idiot could steal my idea that I had been working on for a long time. When I shared my discovery with my father, he told me to patent it. To be honest, I had no time to go to the authorities, and I did not believe that someone would get into my computer and steal the idea. I came home mad as hell, and Alex got under my hot hand. Dad, I'm doing homework. Come on, I have a question for you. Can't you see I just got here? I'm tired. Go do it yourself. Let me rest. I saw how Alex looked at me with frightened eyes, and Victoria, after listening to this yelling, ran to her room. Victor, you're yelling? You're scaring the kids. You control yourself. The kids are not to blame for your problems. Teach me a lesson. You're buzzing in my ears. I can't hear you anymore. Choose your words. The kids are listening to you. I'm sick of you. I'm going to my parents' house. I'm not coming home tonight, and slammed the door and ran down the stairs. I felt better on the street. There was no civilized dialogue at all. I decided to walk and calm down. When my parents saw me, they weren't surprised to see me. Are you going to have dinner? Mom asked. No, I need to talk to my father. What's wrong with you? My father asked. I should have listened to you and patented my project. They stole my idea, which you admired, and now I can hardly prove anything. I've been called a thief myself. The burning in my chest increased, and I rubbed the spot where my heart was pounding at a furious pace. It wasn't oxygen, but something poisonous, because I was having trouble breathing. My heart was pounding so hard that it was more like a fire that threatened to burn all my organs. Dad notices my condition and sits me down on the couch. Mom gives me heart drops. Son, don't worry, You don't have to comfort me. I've wasted a few years. I can feel the tears choking me and digging into my throat like sharp knives. Don't yell at me, my father says, and let me speak. I didn't listen to you then, and I went and registered your project myself. I thought that as a variant of copyright protection can become a notary to certify the time of presentation of documents on the basis of Article 85 of the Fundamentals of Legislation on Notaries. And I did it. You left the draft with us. Then I didn't even realize how I could help you. So don't die. Here's a document from almost a month and a half ago. I think it'll be good proof that you're right. And he held out the papers. I couldn't believe it. My adrenaline is running high. I can't sit still. I'm laughing and crying at the same time. From the outside, my behavior looks like a patient in a mental hospital. But right now, the last thing I care about is how I look. Dad, I'm saved. You saved me. Thank you. I didn't even notice how my heart calmed down. I felt better, and after telling my parents I was spending the night, I went to my room. I couldn't sleep, imagining the conversation with Archie tomorrow. Arriving at work a little early, I managed to get into the general manager's office and ask him to come into our department. He gives me a surly look, and I realize that he's been informed that I'm a thief and can't think straight. When Harry and I enter the department, everyone is already there. They look at me wolfishly or not at all. I mean, how can you talk to a thief? John's sitting back and trying on his big scientist persona. What's the matter? Archie's worried. I want to ask John again. Did he write the project himself, or did he steal the idea from me? Don't get too cocky, Victor, and don't get too smart. You're a little behind, so accept defeat and admit to plagiarism. Archie, when did John give you his project? I told you a week ago, and I was dumbfounded by this elegant idea. Now look at this, and I hold out a document certifying when it was registered. John tensed and Archie turned red as a cancer. The general took one look at the certified document and quickly said, "To my office." John jumped up from his chair, so quickly that he knocked him down, and Archie immediately hunched over and lost his manhood. An hour later, they both came back and John packed his things and left, and I never saw him again, and Archie apologized in front of everybody. I was satisfied, my good name was restored, but I had my father to thank for everything. Victor didn't come to spend the night the second day. After waiting for him until late afternoon, I decided to call, but my mother-in-law answered me. Yes, Veronica, hello. Victor is already asleep. I saw you calling, so I picked up the phone. Is something wrong? Not unless your son hasn't been home for 2 nights. I just wanted to see if he's okay. Yes, honey, he's fine. Didn't you ask him why he wasn't coming home? He's got 2 kids and he doesn't even know if they're healthy or if I'm okay. What do you consider that kind of behavior for a grown man? Muse didn't answer right away, but I decided to wait for an answer to my question. Veronica, is it that serious? I don't like uncertainty. If Victor does not want to live with us, I will not keep. I understand that he is taking a break from us. So let him decide. I will support any decision he makes. As always, I didn't wait for Victor's mother to answer and press the finish button. At such moments, you feel sorry for yourself. You want to cry to someone in the vest, but there is no one. Maybe it's good. I can't lose my temper. I've got kids behind me. I lie there examining the ceiling, where I can't find a single flaw. Remembering how our relationship with Victor, in whom I was in love to the point of toothache, began to sting in my eyes. How beautiful and in love we were. How important it is to meet your man and never let go, living with him all your life and facing old age. He promised to love me, to respect me, but I see that a lot has changed since then, especially Victor. My eyes fill with tears, streaming down my cheeks. Good thing no one can see it. I was always on his side, but I always thought that a man should accept difficulties with dignity and take responsibility for his family and children. After all, a husband, a father is almost God in the family, a protector, a provider, but as life has shown, it is not Victor. It was time to take off and throw away the rose-colored glasses that prevented me from seeing my real husband. But Alex is so drawn to his father. They are alike both externally and internally. How will the boy react if we live separately? I'd always thought that the most important thing in a relationship is trust, and Victor is losing it. Is the love I have for Victor a gift or a curse? Who can answer this question? What is the right way to live and love to be happy? For the second time in many years, I'm really scared. Tears like sharp spikes, hurt. The images of our meetings are flashing in my mind again. 1,000 words are ready to come out of my mouth, and not a single censorious one. I didn't want to wake up in the morning. I didn't want to open my eyes, hoping that Victor was near and everything would be all right. But I had to wake up, come to my senses, and accept the fact that we were in trouble. My husband is gone, and only now I realize how tired I am. The morning begins normally, all on automatic: breakfast, one to school, another to the garden, myself, like a whirlwind rushing to work. The girls look at me and are more and more surprised every time. Veronica, what happened again? Did he come to spend the night? I just shake my head, because tears don't let me say anything. Fuck him, that asshole. How long do you have to lick him? While you're still being looked at, you need to get your own life together. But I never wanted anyone but him. Always looking at Victor, I knew that he was my man and I didn't need others to make sure of it. I fought for my happiness to the last, but I lost. Don't worry, Veronica. As the song says, if your husband leaves you for someone else, you don't know who's lucky. Is that it? No, it's not like that. He's not leaving. He's leaving me and the kids. Things were back to normal at work, which I was very happy about. I had a conversation with the CEO and the head of our department. I wanted to share the news with my father. When the doorbell rang, my mother opened the door but did not invite me in. Go home, son. That's where you belong. I don't like the way you treat your family, especially Veronica. She doesn't deserve it. But I need to talk to my father. You can talk to him on the phone. You don't have to leave the family for 3 days. Go buy a cake on the way and flowers for your wife. You're not a cheapskate. This is not how we raise you. I gasp at this injustice and am completely lost in surprise. I don't recognize my mother. Her usually soft voice takes on a steely note that does not allow for objections. Not even my father argued with her at times like this. It was Veronica's part of the reason for the reception. But I do buy the flowers and the cake. I'd open the apartment with my own key and shout from the hallway. Kids, I've bought the cake, we'll have tea now. But no one meets me. I go into the apartment. Everything is tidy. The kitchen smells of cake. I put the cake and the flowers in a vase and go to find the family. Veronica is doing homework with Alex and Victoria is already asleep. Then I find out she's sick. For a few seconds we look at each other. I've missed him. This mute confession to myself is annoying because I'm drawn to him. I guess I still love him. But it's the past. It's gone, and unfortunately, it will never come back. Just like Victor and I will never be the same. It's dear to us, but I'm sure we shouldn't hold on to it. We should move forward. We can't get back what we've lost forever, but the present and the future are within our power. After so many years of married life, our separation is a slap in the face. It's a terrible pain and hopelessness. We finally come to the very edge where a new life must begin for both of us. What it will be, no one knows. What are you thinking? I'm asking. We probably need to talk, Veronica replies quietly. We go to the kitchen, she pours tea, cuts off a piece of cake, and sits down across from me. Tell us where you've been for so long and why you've come today when we've already stopped waiting for you. Don't start. If you knew my problems, you wouldn't blame me. I'm not reproaching. I just want to ask, is my happiness in seeing my husband reading new scientific literature, always busy, who has in the first place science and in the second place too, And then comes us, his family. Is that so much to ask? Just a chance to be happy. Is it still there, do you think? It's always there, says the husband. But not with you anymore, right? Why am I getting more and more used to the idea that happiness with you is a fantasy? Are you hinting at a divorce? I'm not hinting. You've removed the blinders from my eyes. The May veil fell away, and I finally saw the real you. And what did you see? Veronica looked at me with her big eyes, and I didn't see any hatred in them, no desire to get rid of me. We haven't found your support and family happiness, and you're not even saying anything now. Veronica, now that I'm doing well at work, things are going to change. I won't be late at work. I'll try to establish relations with my children and with you too. Varen, I love you. A strange kind of love, Victor. Never once calling home, asking how the kids are, if something's wrong, if you need help. When you were away, Jack used to come over and help us. One thing breaks or another. You played with Alex, bought toys, and you act like a stranger. I don't want to live like this anymore. We should split up. Maybe we'll be happier separately. I see you've made up your mind. Should I pack my bags? That's up to you, Victor, as your heart tells you. What do you want to do? You don't even want to make your own decision here. I could ask you the same thing. Do you want to leave your family? Is there anything keeping you here? I want to live with you with the kids. I feel good here. I feel at home. Well, let's try one last time. I just can't take it anymore. I'm tired. When the mother slammed the door, sending her favorite son out, I couldn't take it anymore. I knew this was the end of their married life. She'd be much happier with me. You build your own life. Not open your mouth on someone else's loaf of bread in the voice of a teacher with a long history, my mother said. He does not need a wife. He needs science. Without the first, he can do without, but without the second is not. Why torture a woman? Jack, you know I did approve of you trying to court Veronica then, and I don't approve now. Every family has its rough days, and if a wife is wise, she'll try to keep the family together. Veronica's smart, so she'll find the right words for Victor. She will, but he'll want to listen. Geniuses are usually listened to. Come on, this conversation is getting us nowhere. I regret only one thing, that I was not persistent and listened to you. I didn't want to talk to my parents anymore. I knew beforehand what they would talk about. A week later, after Victor returned home, his mother called Veronica. How are you doing? How's the weather? Do you need an umbrella? She joked. Victor is trying. I'm helping him. So far so good, replied the daughter-in-law. What do you need so far? It must always be good. The mother turned on the teacher again. Who's against it, Muse? I'm all for it, but I'm afraid Victor won't last long. It seems to me that everything he does is a bit forced. I wish I were wrong, but that's how I feel, and believe me, it's not a good feeling. Victor loves you, I know it. How? Did he tell you? I don't need to tell you. I've lived my life and I know. If Muse had seen Veronica at that moment, she would have realized that she didn't believe her. You have to think of the children too. That's all I think about, but I'd like both parents to think about them. You will, darling, you'll see, and she said goodbye and hung up. Victoria was on the mend. Victor spent a lot of time with her, reading books and showing her tricks, which made the girl laugh so contagiously that it was a balm to Veronica's heart. The relationship was slowly getting better. She even began to call him daddy, but I would like the relationship to be warmer. I remember my relationship with my father. They were so trusting that I would rather tell my secrets to my father than to my mother. I used to call him daddy. My dad wanted a son, and when I was born, I got a little sad, and my mom said to cheer him up. Harvey, don't worry. You be a father to your son, and you be a daddy to your daughter. That's how it worked out. My mom just told me the other day that she was jealous of my dad, and here I don't see such relations. Only one thing calms me, that Victoria is small and later her attitude to her father will change. At work, Victor was promoted, opening a special department under him. His team decided to expand, to bring the latest developments, and for this you need staff and money. The general decided to do both in a short time, and now the work is boiling, and my husband has grown wings behind him. Salary became tastier, and we can afford to vacation at the sea. I think about all this while sitting on the bus that is taking me home. My eye catches the sign for a jewelry store, where Billy and his girlfriend are coming out. They're cheerful, he hugs her, and she kisses him on the cheek. Well, Billy finally decided to say goodbye to his bachelorhood. Good God, let him be happy, I thought, as the loving couple was left far behind. Victor's family was 100% his fault. I'll always be grateful to him. My husband catches up with me at the entrance and hands me a small bouquet of violets. I'll have to get used to these surprises all over again. Thank you, Victor. It's my pleasure, I say fondly, and we get into the elevator. On him, obviously something today has had a strong effect, and we start kissing in the elevator like teenagers, but I am not ashamed. I put in these kisses all my feelings so that my husband remember it and his feelings for me. I want such moments to never end, so that children see happy parents. Because when love leaves, little people feel it, and their souls are crippled by falsity. I'm burning with curiosity. What could happen that such a reserved in his feelings Victor became such a romantic? Flowers, dates, kisses in the elevator? Never believed in such a dramatic change, but the fact remains. Maybe love really is a fire where you have to put wood all the time, otherwise it will die out. Apparently, Victor knows this too and decided to follow the wise saying. On Saturday, I took the kids to my parents' house because we decided to have a full day off. But early Sunday morning, my husband was asked to come to work, and they promised to be gone for a while. Victor made a date with me at our place at exactly 3:00 p.m. Exactly at the appointed time, hands came down on my shoulders, but first I smelled the perfume. Familiar, pleasant. I gave it to one man, my husband. Sometimes I smell it from other men, but Victor has his own. Here is important not only the aroma of this water, but also its carrier. Each with its own pheromones creates its own unique smell. Of course, I was not mistaken. It was Victor. We spent the whole afternoon and evening together. Coming out of the restaurant, we met Billy, still with the same girl. We talked for a while, and then we parted ways. What a wonderful man, I said very carelessly. Responsible, serious, handsome, and a pro. How quickly he found you. I didn't notice that Victor stopped holding my hand and pouted. Victor, why are you so upset? Everybody's good for you but me. Don't be a child. I admire him more as a detective and a man than as a man. Besides, he's got a fiancée or a wife. You know all about him. Do you keep in touch? No, I saw him leaving the jewelry store with this girl. Why am I making excuses like I've done something terrible? Let's not ruin the evening. It's special tonight. We've allowed ourselves to relax for so long. Come on, Victor, don't pout. You're the competition. You know how to spoil the mood, said my husband and added a step, but did not stop reprimanding me. The wind, which had just fluttered my scarf, tiredly hushed, as if listening to us. You went to sleep on the couch. I didn't go near him anymore, let him cool down, especially since I don't feel any guilt. I don't know why I got so excited. I think the same about Sergi, but she admired him so much. At least when her husband was alive, she wouldn't say such things about other men. Apparently, it's a planned action to make me know my place. Instead of calming down and sleeping, I was mentally grinding my wife's bones again. Sleep, as it happens, never came, which was not surprising after everything that had happened. After lying on the couch for about an hour, I got up, threw on a sweater, and went out to the balcony. It was cold outside, and hiding my hands in the sleeves of my sweater made me feel uncomfortable, but it cleared my mind. I realized I'd offended Veronica. What's the big deal, you idiot? Come to think of it, she didn't say anything special. I wanted to go to the bedroom, but I decided not to wake my wife and apologize tomorrow morning. I was wrong. But Veronica, accepting my apology, was not particularly happy about it. The silence dragged on. It was obvious that she was uncomfortable with the situation. You're acting like the last. She never found the words to compare me to someone else. But I realized that this last one was a shithead, and it's embarrassing for a grown man like me to be one. I screwed it up, didn't I? There was sadness in my voice, and I was ashamed to look at my wife. We're getting worse and worse. We make up, and then we're not happy with each other again. It goes on, but we still cling to each other for some reason. I thought we were in a new phase, but we're in an old one. I think you're interested in other beautiful, young, sexy women so you don't get bored with them. Am I that shallow? I'm sorry. Do you even remember why you yelled at me? With a wave of her hand, Veronica started to get ready for work. After 3 years of not smoking, I started smoking again. It's been a year. Serious problems in the family began when the ambitious Nellie came to Victor's department. She was a little older than Victor. She joined the team with her development, which was close to the subject. Nellie quickly became his deputy because she deserved this place. She was smart, energetic, forward-looking, and she gained not only Victor's respect, but also the general's. Victor considered ambition a strong character trait. The need to always go forward to his goal, to strive for prosperity, appealed to him. But not everyone in his department shared this opinion. She was seen as an arrogant and selfish woman. The first thing she did as deputy was to bring order to discipline. Victor was busy with science and relied more on the decency of people who had let him down more than once. Nellie was uncompromising in this respect. For about 8 months now, she had occupied the place of the deputy of the department, inspiring fear and trembling with her principles and demands. But the bosses considered these methods justified because the order became more. About our dates, my husband quickly forgot, about bedtime stories to his daughter too. He sat in his office more and more often for his notes or talking about work with Nellie. He admired her. I listened, looking at him, and felt that he was clearly showing his attitude towards his assistant, and I had no doubt that this was not the end of it. My chest felt tight at these thoughts, my pride shattering into shards. How much more of this can I take? And if I should, it's clear enough. Is it possible to live with such a burden that day by day more and more humiliates me and bends me to the ground? I knew that this could happen, but it was, as always, unexpected. Everything inside was burning so hot that I couldn't even breathe. God, why do I have to endure all this, and why does it hurt so much? Why do I put up with all this? As my mom says, I'm a beautiful young woman, well brought up, with a good education, maybe not so ambitious, but quite self-sufficient. Is it really necessary to disrespect yourself so much to tolerate such humiliation? I used to be able to justify my tolerance with feelings, but now I have none. The heart that had once chosen this man was cold. I didn't want to live. I didn't want anything at all. At that moment, there was no person I hated more than Victor for his betrayal. At home, he tried to be an attentive husband, a loving father, but it was pure hypocrisy. I realized he was cheating on me again when I visited the corporate New Year's Eve party. When he led her down to meet me, he held her hand while kissing her fingers. But even here, I was not let down by my restraint. Smiling sweetly, I gave my hand and said that I had known her for a long time because my husband had told me a lot about her. I also imagined you just like that, she replied, saying goodbye. And then, having forgotten where she was, or maybe on purpose, Victor, soon everyone will be invited to the table. You didn't forget that you're congratulating the team. And nodding, she left. This Victor could be regarded as a very close relationship, and to be honest with myself, they have long been asleep. Standing there like a spitfire, I said I was going home, blaming it on a headache. Veronica, let's at least have a glass of champagne. It's New Year's Eve. Have fun when you get home. We'll have one last conversation. I won't put up with it anymore. I've lost the fight for you, but you know I don't regret it. What are you talking about? Your fantasies again? Bastard, I said and went out. He didn't come home for the night, but the next day he called and said he'd stay at his parents' house. That morning was very hard, even though it was New Year's Eve. The night passed almost without sleep, restlessly tossing and turning. I kept thinking about what to do so that the children would not feel the tension. There was no temptation to postpone, to find another option. I had made up my mind irrevocably. God knows I wanted to keep the family together, but I couldn't. Probably one should not be afraid of changes. They always lead to the best. Maybe I will be lucky, and each of us will be happy in our own way. It was frosty outside the window. The branches of the trees swayed in the wind and fluffy snow fell from them. The playground was covered in snow, as were the cars abandoned by their owners in the yard, rushing to welcome the new year. This was my second horrible New Year's Eve. The first when Victor disappeared, and the second now. The kids were still asleep, and I could be sad without explaining anything to anyone. No matter how hard I tried to hold it together, my throat constricted with spasms. What a fool I was, so many years lost, and the man left without looking back. I should have realized only now that Victor would never have enough of one woman. It's a pity I only came to realize it after all this time. My parents came to wish us a happy new year. I really didn't want to tell them that Victor didn't live at home. But how could I hide the fact that the head of the family wasn't home for a second day? Veronica, calm down. We understand. You're upset, Mom says in a quiet and peaceful tone. Upset? I'm raising my voice, and I'm seething inside. After a year of searching, after so many years of adjusting to Victor, I found myself abandoned with 2 children. Don't exaggerate. No one's abandoning you with kids yet. What do you call it now? He lives at my mom's, talks to me on the phone, asks how Alex is, and he always forgets about Victoria. She never became his own daughter. Don't get yourself worked up. Yes, he's more reserved with her than with his son, but the conclusions you're drawing are absurd. I've been in worse situations. We'll get through this, my daughter. Don't worry. The main thing is not to beat yourself up. Remember, you have 2 children behind you. And she puts her arm around my shoulders and Dad kisses me on the top of my head. I feel like a little girl and I hug my parents. So we stand like this for a few seconds, hugged by the 3 of us. We're proud of you, girl. You're small, but so brave, strong, persistent, and kiss my temple with tenderness. I feel good with them. We drink tea with Mom's specialty cake and I feel at ease. They love me and will never betray me. Crises happen in every family and you were no exception. Did you and Daddy have difficulties too? You can't imagine, daughter, what happens between spouses after 15 and even 20 years of married life. It's a long story. I can only say that we were also on the verge of divorce, but Dad took responsibility and turned the situation around. Love, daughter, is when he's around, and pain and fear when he's not. Love is you. Daddy and I were happiest when you grabbed his hair and my nose. That was happiness. Mom, maybe there's something wrong with me. Why is he always attracted to strange women? What's wrong with me? Silly, you're too good for him. He's married to science. His family comes second. That's the main reason. But Nellie's older than him, and he's still with her. Why? Don't push yourself into a corner. The kids have to be with their father anyway, so they shouldn't hear anything bad about him. And when they're older, they'll draw their own conclusions. You split up with him, and kids are forever. My parents left late. The children were asleep, and I kept walking around the apartment and thinking, once he was my king, my God, my everything, and now he is not around. But I did not die of longing. I live and even hope that someday I will be happy. But I have to get used to the idea that I am now without Victor. My heart is clenched with pain, and it is impossible to breathe fully. But I have to cope, because I have children. Looking for happiness is excruciatingly long. To find happiness is incredibly difficult. To keep it is catastrophically hard. But to lose can be instantaneous. I've always been afraid of losing my happiness, of not keeping it. I look at his clothes left in the closet, going through them masochistically. The clothes smell of his perfume, spicy and woody, mixed with musk, jasmine and patchouli, and most importantly, rum. Yes, rum. When I was buying him a gift, the salesman, a young guy, told me a lot about this perfume. Then I take my suitcase and carefully collect all my ex-husband's things. I put shirts, suits, his underwear and put them in the hallway. Let him take it. I have a new life, and maybe soon there will be a new man. Disappointed in one man, do not put a cross on the others and deny yourself the pleasure of bathing in male attention. It was snowing for the 2nd day, the cold overcast light falling into the room and making me feel sad. I looked at the snowflakes that stuck to the window and then, picked up by the wind, flew on, decorating the ground, the trees, the roofs of the houses. New Year was always a special holiday for me. It made me believe in miracles and Santa Claus. But now sadness and emptiness had taken me captive and were not going to let me go anytime soon. I felt like an old woman with a faded look and absolutely lost. All these days I hadn't slept. No, I went to bed, but I couldn't sleep. I got up in the morning broken and not rested. I wondered why Muse hadn't called me yet, and then I remembered that in the light of recent events I had even forgotten to wish her a happy new year. I had already picked up the phone to call, but I heard that we had guests. When I opened the door, I saw my mother-in-law. Why can't I call Victor? Without undressing and going into the room, she asked, looking at the suitcase in passing. Happy New Year to you too, Muse. Isn't your son staying with you all these days? These days, what are they? New Year's Eve. No, he's not. It would be silly to come to you and ask about him. So he couldn't stand it, and he's already living with his mistress. Veronica, the one thing I don't like about you is your panic. I'm not panicking if your son's gone back to another woman, and she's his second in command. Convenient, really. Right there in the checkout line. You know what, sweetheart? If things don't work out, it's both your fault. You can't blame them for everything. Clapping my eyes at such insolence, I felt goosebumps running down my body from her words. I was drowning in her gaze, radiating anger and indignation. Biting my lip, I felt a veil appear in my eyes, ready to burst into tears. But I did not want to give my mother-in-law such joy, and taking control of myself went on the offensive. I'm not going to justify myself to you. Maybe I am to blame, but only because I loved too much, searched, gave birth to a daughter, waited for him. Does he call you? Yes, he asked me how my son is, and he forgets to ask me about Victoria, who you wanted me to have so badly. At the thought that Victoria might not have existed, my heart was pounding like crazy and pumping blood through my veins with terrible force. The only thing that comforted me was that my mother-in-law supported me, wanting to see her son's child alive and well. And for that, I will always be grateful to her. What's that suitcase in the hallway? Victor's things. I had it ready for him to pick up. Are you kicking him out of his own apartment? It's not just his apartment, it's mine and the kids. He doesn't live on the street, but at the side of the woman he loves. Our conversation was interrupted by a phone call. It's Victor, I told my mother-in-law. Give it to me, I'll talk to him. With pleasure, and handed her the phone. Victor's son. Mom, what are you doing there? Where's Veronica? Your Veronica is alive and well. She packed you a huge suitcase with things and wants to throw you out of the apartment. Where are you? Why aren't you at home with the kids? Are you up to your old tricks again? Mom, I'm not a kid anymore. Don't tell me off. You better go home. I'll come tomorrow and talk to Veronica about everything. He hung up without saying anything else. Muse gulped for a long time before she came to her senses from her conversation with her son. He's coming home tomorrow. He wants to talk to you. Maybe I should come too. I'll talk some sense into him. No, you don't need to come. We'll sort it out ourselves. And there's no need to talk sense into him. I've made up my mind, and I'm not going to forgive him. When I found out Victor was coming tomorrow, I asked my parents to pick up the kids. I didn't want them to hear us fighting. Especially my mom said that children should not hear bad things about their father, and I could not stand it and tell him everything I thought, only the words would be more and more foul. Why would the kids want to hear that? They don't. Grandpa and Grandma arrived early, and the kids squealed with joy and went for a ride on the slide. At exactly 12 o'clock noon, the doorbell rang, even though my husband had the keys to the apartment. I got a little nervous. I took a deep breath in front of the door and opened it, and there on the threshold seems to be my husband, but I see that it is another person. Of course, he hasn't changed dramatically in such a short time, but something has changed in his look, and I didn't notice that you were suffering from guilt. Why are you standing there like that? I tried to smile to create a New Year's mood, but it was fake. Happy New Year, Veronica. Why not Happy New Year? I said sarcastically. But Victor did not support my tone. He tried not to get out of the good-natured way. We settled down in the kitchen and sat opposite each other. My gaze involuntarily lingered on my once fair face. He was wearing a new sweater. I thought, a New Year's gift from Nellie. While we were silent, images from my past life flashed through my mind. Here we are, a happy family, loving parents, and here we are already sitting in the kitchen, and I am waiting for my husband's story, how we will divorce. How do I explain to Sasha still, in fact, a child, that daddy no longer loves mom, and that we decided never to live together again? But it doesn't mean that daddy won't love them. Of course he will, just that now they will see him less often. I shook my head, turning my thoughts back to the kitchen. I was listening to you, and I looked at Victor. He was silent for a while, gathering his thoughts, and then he began to speak. Veronica, it was obvious that this conversation is not easy for him. I did bad to you and the children, but I love her. We are easy and interesting together. Nellie and I are on the same wavelength. We can talk for hours in a language only we understand. I don't notice how time passes when I'm with her. I realize that it's unpleasant for you to hear all this. Only an idiot can tell one woman about another, but otherwise I can't explain my act. If it wasn't for that incident at the corporate party, I wouldn't have dared to leave you. It's okay, I can take it. You very colorfully describe everything and, most importantly, understand your actions. Now from the street will come your son. I will be very grateful if you tell him why. We will now live separately. You're a grown man. He's a future man. I think you'll find the right words for your only son. Nellie's not likely to give birth to you. You don't want to let me go? Who told you that? I'm glad to be free of such a miracle who throws himself at anything that moves. But you must talk to your son yourself. I can't right now, but I'm not saying no. I have to prepare, find the right words so he won't hate me. I love him very much. Yes, and that's why you're going to live with another woman. She's not a woman. she's a very intelligent woman. I knew it right away when this intelligent woman called you Victoria, and knowing that you were married, dragged you into her bed. That's very intellectual. Disappointment enveloped me like sticky paper, and I didn't know when I'd let go. My heart was pounding in my chest, but not from joy, but from the truth of life. I don't know how long I'll lick my wounds, but it won't go away. I used to have a whole soul, but now a piece of it has been ripped out, an important piece, a big piece, and I have nowhere to go for relief. Apparently, Victor had said everything, and to end this farce, having collected my thoughts, I said, "The suitcase is in the hallway. All the things are folded. You could be free. I hope you won't divide the apartment." He answered not at once, but after a long look in my eyes. "Of course I won't. I'm worried about you. If Nellie kicks you out in a week, takes your place in the department, where will you go? You're off our radar from now on." "I understand. I'll go back to my parents or get an apartment. But I know that's not gonna happen. You never know, we can't predict. Leave the keys to the apartment. Don't be mad at me, we've had some good times. The important thing is that you remember that. Goodbye," and I slammed the door hard. That's all I said to myself, and I cried like a baby. The day I filed for divorce was no different from any other day, except that it stopped snowing and the sun came out for the first time since the beginning of the new year. The snow glittered silver, shimmered like the most expensive diamond, and I had to cover my eyes from this bright splendor. At once we were not divorced. The presence of 2 children gave us time to reconcile, but neither of us used it, and in 6 months we became free. Victor gave up any claim to the jointly acquired property, so there was no other reason to give us more time. We were still drifting further and further apart. That day is as etched in my memory as our marriage. Both were associated with a once beloved man who swore for better or for worse, but in fact was not at all who he claimed to be. It was the children that saved me. They demanded so much attention that I didn't have time to feel sorry for myself, so I stood my ground. It's been a year since then, and I'm cured. I lost a little weight, I got a short haircut again, which made me look younger, but most importantly, I remember how to smile. I updated my closet and began to notice the approving glances of men. I loved it. Like ice cream in hot weather, I melted under their hot looks. It had been a long time since I had received so much attention. One day, while I was at the mall with the kids, I ran into Billy. He was alone this time and came right up to me as soon as our gazes locked. "You look beautiful. Time has no power over you. Good to see you. I know you're lying, but it's nice to meet you. How's Victor? How's his health?" "I think he's fine. Haven't seen him in a while." Billy was embarrassed to ask, but seeing his surprised eyes and raised eyebrows, I decided to tell him. "We're divorced. He never became the Victor who once loved me, and this one never did." "I'm sorry, Veronica. I'm not." His eyes went round again in surprise. "I'm living perfectly well, and even time has no power over me," and I laughed heartily. "You've always been beautiful." I believed this statement willingly. Everyone would like to hear such a thing from a handsome man. "Careful, young man, your wife may hear you." "What wife?" "With whom you went to the jewelry store, apparently, for rings, and to the restaurant when we saw you with Victor." He still had smiled and nodded. "I understand, but that's my sister. She did get married, and I helped her in any way I could. So I have nothing to fear." Now it was my turn to be surprised. "Oh, really? I wanted to congratulate you. What took you so long, such a handsome man alone? He hasn't met someone like you yet." I felt my cheeks blush. "I'm too old for you. You should find a woman 10 years younger than you." "What am I supposed to do with her?" "What do you mean, have children, have fun, so you'll have something to remember when you're old?" I caught myself that Billy's presence hit my heart so hard that I could hardly breathe. But to be fair, I had to say that I liked the man, and in his every movement I felt strength and calm confidence. I see that he is in love, but he tries to be polite and correct, which once again proved his decency. A well-mannered, courageous pro at what he does. I would not refuse to bask in his male attention. As if catching my thoughts, he asked, "Could I come visit you sometime?" I took his hand and only then realized how cold my hands were. He squeezed it gently and waited for my answer. "Come on in, Billy. I'd be glad to see you." Bending over and kissing my fingers, we parted. All I realized was that I could hardly deny myself the pleasure of accepting his advances. All the women I know had very difficult relationships with men after divorce, and in most cases not at all, but they treated it all simply. I guess I should keep it simple too, especially since Billy had taken the initiative. Billy decided to go ahead with the visit. He figured his son was about 13 or 14, and his daughter was still young, probably only 5. He could be wrong, of course, but not by much. In his head, he was thinking about presents for the children and Veronica. He didn't want to buy expensive gifts for her, so that she wouldn't feel obliged to him. Flowers at first, and then slowly he could move on to more interesting things. Until recently, his thoughts had been occupied only with work, and now he couldn't believe that she would be so close to him. Billy covered his face with his palms and thought that he was doing a bad thing by wishing Victor would never find her, because Veronica had interested him at first sight as soon as she walked into his office. How much I liked her, liked everything about her, admired her beautiful face and perfect body. And it was as if she didn't notice anything. All about her beloved husband without a word. I thought, so no one loves, having lived 5-6 years, but listening to this woman, I believe that there is love, as in books. I endured 2 days and called Veronica. Hello, did you recognize her? Sure, hi Billy. I'm coming over tomorrow. Is that okay? I won't interrupt any plans. No, come over for dinner. We'll sit at the table together and see how big and beautiful my kids are. It's a deal. Sasha bought a math game, remembering that he always loved math and was first in his class. The saleswoman asked the age of the child, and having learned that the boy is 13 years old, advised to buy something Jex. The child is young. It's a 15-year-old game. It's not even a game. It's more like a textbook of higher math in a game form. The kid's a genius. This is just for him. Well, look, I warned you. I bought Vika a beautiful doll and Veronica flowers. I bought candy, fruit, loaded up the trunk and drove to the house. When Veronica opened the door, she didn't see Billy behind all the boxes and presents. And he still could not believe that this was happening to him. He enjoyed the moment, seeing the woman he loved in front of him. The kids had really grown up. Alex, a handsome guy, very much like his father, and Victoria, a little princess with huge bows, flapping her eyes she took from her mom. Hello, she said, I'm Victoria. Hello, baby, I'm Uncle Billy. I wanted to start handing out presents as soon as possible. Alex, these are for you. I think you can handle it. Thank you very much, and held out his hand like a grown man. Victoria looked on with all her eyes and waited for her moment of happiness. This is for you. The kid and put a doll, almost the same height as her, on the floor. Ah, said the little actress, folded her hands in front of her and grabbed the doll and ran away, completely forgetting to say thank you. When the children had scattered, I approached Veronica. It's good to see you, and not just today, but every day, 24 hours, all 7 days a week. This is for you. And I handed her the bouquet and kissed her on the cheek. Her scent made my head spin, and I couldn't help but run my hand through her hair, feeling its silkiness and softness. I'm sorry, I can't help myself. Come into the room, I'll be right back. I'll just put the flowers in a vase. Nothing had changed in the room since he'd been here. He could only admit to himself that he often came to see his mistress. There were, of course, more important things to do, but he could not deny himself the pleasure of seeing the little woman who always looked at him with wide-open eyes, eager to learn news of her missing husband. How long ago that had been. And in all those years he had never stopped thinking about her. The children came running in briefly, ate quickly, and ran off again. They had more important and interesting things to do. And we sat down with Veronica to dinner, drank wine, and reminisced a lot. I want you to know that you can rely on me for everything and ask for any help. I'm always at your disposal. Thank you, Billy. It must be important to have support. I'm not used to it, but it's nice to hear. We sat up late talking. The kids had to go to bed, and I was getting ready to go home. Can I come over again? Billy, don't ask. I enjoy your company. We hugged without agreement, and I said goodbye. But as much as I didn't want to leave her, I couldn't rush things, or I'd ruin everything. It's been a year since I've lived with Nellie. The last time I saw Veronica was when we were leaving the courtroom, and I said, I'm sorry. God will forgive, my ex replied, and with her springy gait, she began to walk away from me. Totally became a stranger, I thought then, but the mood was not spoiled. I was waiting for a new life with the woman I loved. Then it could not even occur to me that I would miss her, miss our evenings, our children. I came to my son's school. We met regularly, talked a lot. I tried not to lose touch with him, but I dreamt of Victoria. Her little warm hands, which she liked to put on my cheeks, thanking me for my tricks. It used to annoy me sometimes, but now when I close my eyes, I see that little brat and I miss her. I've reevaluated and reevaluated a lot of things this year. How different these two women are. Nellie did not like to cook and did not cook, so we ate mostly in cabs or restaurants, which took a huge amount of money. Veronica was an excellent cook and loved to gather the family around the dinner table. It was only now that I began to really appreciate it. Since Nellie worked a lot, we had an au pair come in twice a week to clean and do the laundry while we were at work. I always wondered how Veronica managed to do it all, because she'd also worked. At home, there was always an atmosphere of comfort, peace, and tranquility. I rested among people who loved me in body and soul. She managed with 2 children, a huge apartment. I always had ironed shirts and pants, and Nellie does not have time for that. She didn't get along with my parents. I'd go to them alone, and my mom would start the old song about what was important. Go to Veronica, get on your knees, beg her for forgiveness. Only an idiot would leave a woman like that. After all, I miss my grandchildren, she'd shout. If Jack was home, he'd support his mother and they'd latch out at me in 2 voices. But I realized that nothing could be fixed and there was no turning back. I asked my son how his mom was doing, probing if she had anyone. But the child said nothing, from which I concluded that Veronica was still alone. So one day I decided to go and see my daughter and see my ex-wife. Just as I came around the corner, I saw Billy. What's this guy doing here? I thought jealously. He had a lot of packages in his hands, a beautiful bouquet, and someone had helped him open the door. And I hadn't even bought flowers for Veronica. I was in such a hurry to see them. I came home upset. Is something wrong? Nellie asked me. No, I'm fine. Have you been to your parents' house? Yes, I went to see them. My brother's getting married. He invited me to the wedding. Shall we go? You know I don't like these gatherings. I'd rather read poetry, she said and left the room. I took the first book I could find and started reading a poem. Let them. Let those who didn't kiss us pity us. And let those who hurt us be sad. Let conscience torment those who lied. Let those who hated us be uncomfortable. Let those who supported us be with us. Let those who didn't get us cry. PP, let those who cheated be ashamed, PP. Hashtag, and may those we've broken up with long for us, hashtag. I had a little sweat on my forehead. Interested, I picked up another book, and again I felt hot. Let him who neglected me weep, and bemoan the soul, soulless who has wronged. Let him be deceived who has lied so ungodly. Appreciate the malice of others who hated. He will not find prosperity who himself has clutched his purse, and will not know the joy of someone she has parted with. Let him be humiliated who didn't respect me, and let him starve who I tried to feed. Let him who underestimated me be unappreciated, biting the elbow of someone who didn't get me, cynically betrayed by someone who cheated on me. And let him tolerate what I disagreed with. I slammed both books shut and picked up a bottle of water. I drank in big gulps, greedily. I felt uncomfortable. If someone had asked me at that moment if I was happy, I would have said yes. I have a woman I love, an interesting job, trips abroad. What else does a man need to be happy? And then I thought about family. Yes, I need a family, children, family lunches and dinners, all the things I didn't appreciate before and the things that I was sorely lacking now. The relationship with Billy was on an upward trajectory. He became a frequent visitor to our home. The children gradually got used to his presence, and the little one would climb into his arms and whisper something in his ear. Then Billy did some manipulations with his hands and, unclasping his palm, showed a candy or a small toy. She would squeal with happiness and run to her room to play. Before he came over, he always called. I guess he didn't want to run into Victor. He never came empty-handed, and I noticed that along with the flowers came expensive gifts. Billy, that's unnecessary. I'm happy to be courted by you without it. I like you a lot too, but you don't need to shower you with gifts. Am I hearing this? What's that? I asked. That you like me and my courtship is pleasant to you. I waited for that every day, like a boy who'd fallen in love with a girl for the first time. He froze. I thought he stopped breathing. I could hardly breathe. And I was also scared. What if it didn't work again? But he hugged me so tightly, not letting my doubts grow to fear. I felt the gentle touch of his lips on my temple, and when he kissed me, all my doubts vanished at once. I realized I was glad to see him. With him by my side, I felt calm, confident, and safe. His gaze, his powerful, athletic figure, spoke of reliability. Though he never showed on purpose what a great shape he was in, despite the fact that with such a figure he could afford it like no one else. Surprised herself that the feeling had come so quickly. Every time he hugged me, I involuntarily compared him to my ex-husband, and strangely enough, they were not in his favor. I had never experienced such incomparable feelings. The way he hugged me, pressed me against him, it's impossible to describe. It was tender, exciting. I always felt like he was tempting me. It was like I was getting to know my Veronica all over again. It seemed to me that after my hugs and kisses, she seemed to regret what had happened, and I didn't want her to drift away from me, so I gave her time to come to her senses each time. I didn't want to push and break all the barriers she still couldn't remove. It was comforting to know that she liked it, and that made it even more exciting. She clung to me as if seeking protection, but then I realized it was different. She slowly thawed and responded to my caresses. "I'll wait, I have a lot of patience." The profession obliged, and here was such a woman. I had waited too long for her to break things so ineptly. Despite her fragility and femininity, she had a strength, a core that did not let her, in the worst moments of her life, to cower in the face of difficulties. Such a woman is difficult to defend. It was admirable, but also angry at the same time. Every time we met, I would begin with the words, "Veronica," I missed her and her response, "Me too." He put his arm around me, his nose in my hair, and I'd melt, covering my eyes in pleasure. Billy was always trying to touch me. He'd take my hand, or put his hand on my shoulder, or squeeze my fingers as he passed me something. He wanted to be closer to me, but I didn't rush things. And on numerous invitations to go to his house, as I could, not to befriend, I refused, knowing how it would end. 6 months passed as Billy and I got to know each other. I trusted him completely. He took over some of the chores around the house. He could go buy a new faucet and put it in, with the skill of the best plumber, fix a leak, or any number of things in the apartment. I felt like I had a man in the house. He could drive and buy groceries and never forgot the flowers. And since Victoria asked him why he didn't give her flowers, he started buying 2 bouquets, a small one for her, specially made for the baby, and a huge one for me as always. She met him first and accepted the bouquet from the man with the words, "Thank you," and then she'd shout, "Mommy, come on, they brought you flowers too." Alex was more reserved, but he treated Billy with respect. He didn't try to replace his father, but wanted to be a friend, a counselor, a support, and his son understood and accepted it. I don't know why I was so worried about seeing Billy. I noticed the way he was looking at Veronica. I didn't like it, so when she started admiring him, I took offense. I still remember how I rebuked her. "Everybody's good for you but me." I even went to bed on the couch instead of with Veronica. I felt threatened by him. Remembering this, I walked around the apartment, kicking everything under my feet, as if things were to blame for my rage. Had Veronica decided to get married? I asked myself, why not? She's a free woman, very attractive, I answered myself. Does that mean I can never come back to our house? You won't be able to, answered an invisible voice. The worst thing that's happened is that she doesn't care about you. And that's worse than hate. Even hatred is an expression of some emotions, feelings, and indifference is a complete lack of interest in you. You got everything you wanted. Work saved me, but when I came back, the longing came with full force. On another date with his son, he confirmed that Uncle Sergi came to them regularly, giving his mother flowers and gifts. I noticed, Alex said, that Mom liked him. And you? I asked with the hope of a negative answer. I like him too. He's interesting, he tells a lot of stories. My insides were churning. Not only did he take his wife, but he's also taking my son. You understand a lot, I answered in a raised tone. I'm your father and I'll always be him, understand? Dad, why are you yelling? You asked me, I told you. All right, I gotta go home, and my son ran off. Alex, I'm sorry. Alex, but he didn't turn around. It had been a few days and I wasn't getting any better. I couldn't explain my condition. I didn't notice how thoughts of my ex-wife filled my head. I should go over there again and talk to Veronica. About what? The inner voice brought me to my senses again with that question. Who are you to her? Ex-husband. Ex-husband, and you have no rights over her. You're the one who left her, and Veronica was alone for a year, picking herself up from the pieces. If it wasn't for the words I said before I left, maybe she could forgive, but now she can't. But I can go to my daughter's house. I can't. I'll go tomorrow. When I made my decision, I was relieved. I bought flowers for Veronica, toys for my daughter, and went to visit. But as I approached the house, I saw Veronica and Billy. He put his arm around her shoulders, and she put her arm around his waist. Opening the car door, Billy helped her in, and soon they were driving away. I stood there for a second, wondering what to do, and then I walked toward the driveway, hoping the kids were home with my mother-in-law. I was pissed off by everything that was going on. Anger from what I had seen came with a new force. Victoria looked at me for a long time and did not approach me. "Hello, daughter, I brought you some toys." "Thank you." My mother-in-law stood and looked at me with a kind of pity. "This is for you, Maria," and held out a bouquet. "I'll tell Veronica it's a present from you. She's not interested in my gifts right now. She's got a second wind. You can't judge her. Remember how many breaths you had while she loved and forgave you for your affairs. You stomped it all out. And now, of course, she's in love and a good man. She loves Veronica. And as a mother, I'm glad my daughter will feel what it's like to be loved. She never got that feeling with you. I understand and I don't blame her. She's a fine woman and an excellent hostess. Maybe I'll wait for her. I wanted to talk to her." "No, Victor, she's not coming home tonight. She asked to stay out all night. She's entitled. She's an adult." I must have changed my face because my mother-in-law asked me, "Can I get you some water?" I nodded. The bottle of water she brought, I drank in one gulp. There was no point in sitting there, and after saying goodbye, I left. No one was expecting me here, and they didn't even notice me leaving. I didn't feel like going home, so I wandered around the city. Tired, I sat on a bench in the park. My thoughts were interrupted by the ringtone of my cell phone. Nellie was calling. I didn't want to talk to her. I'll figure something out later. I was about to leave, as on the bench sat a man, about my age, and in his hands he had a magazine, Science and Scientific Information. That month I had written a big article in this publication and received a decent fee. "Are you Victor?" the man asked. "Yes," I answered in surprise. "Just now I read your article. I had a lot of pleasure. How many bold thoughts, ideas," and he shook my hand. "Thank you. I'm revitalized." "And who are you?" "I'm sorry. I'm Harvey. You have a doctorate, if I'm not mistaken." "Yes, I did." "I was wondering if you'd like to move to DC. You have such interesting topics, cutting-edge developments." "What would I do here? I have my own department here, young, talented guys. We'll have the same thing. We'll open a department for your developments. It's our future." "And the apartment, where to live? Are you married?" And I decided to say that I'm not. "Then we have hotel-type apartments for single people. They're small, but they're quite comfortable for one person. I'll have to think about it. At my age, it's dangerous to make such a drastic change in life." The new acquaintance gave me his card and we said goodbye. And a week later, I was called by the general and said in an apologetic tone that the department will now be headed by Nellie, and I will be her deputy. "You understand, Victor," I didn't let him finish and wrote a letter of resignation right in his office. "I'm not signing it." He said he was serious. "I've been invited to Washington to the Academy of Sciences. I'm taking my developments and wish you all the best. Are you offended or what? What do you think?" "I think we'll think of something for you. I don't need anything anymore. The level is different in Washington. I'm more interested there." Later I found out that Nellie had long since become the general's mistress, and I had nothing more to do there. While she was not at home, I packed my things and left this hated, lately for me house. I was on my way to my parents' house to say goodbye and leave for Washington. Today, Veronica accepted my invitation to go see how I was living. She was silent on the way. I thought she was worried, maybe even regretting agreeing to this proposal, because there would be no going back. I just wouldn't be able to let her go. Maybe she felt sorry for me, knowing how long I'd waited for this, that now I could hardly believe in this reality. I whispered in her ear, and she looked at me without looking away, and I could see that she understood it and agreed. When I got to the house, I helped her out of the car, and squeezing her hand, I asked her, "Shall we go?" I'm a grown man holding my breath, afraid to hear her say no, but no, she nodded. Billy's apartment was a 2-bedroom. Its main virtue was cleanliness. I could see that the owner didn't want luxury, preferring to live more modestly than his means allowed. There was no coziness, no warmth, none of the things that make a woman's presence in a home. It was as if Billy had read my mind. When you live here, you'll make it cozy and do it the way you like it. Billy, you realize I won't move without the kids. Sure, I don't mind. But 2 rooms aren't big enough for 4 people. Besides, Alex is almost a senior in high school and he's studying a lot. So if we can make it work. I interrupted her. Can we leave out the word if? We've already done it. And where we're gonna live isn't important, as long as we're together. Do you agree with me? No offense, Billy. There's one more thing I have to tell you. I'm listening, he said in an icy tone, without any emotion. I'm 38 now, and it's quite possible that I won't be able to give you the child you want, and neither will your parents. I have no parents, they died. I was brought up by my aunt, and when she was gone, they put me in an orphanage. So I'm an independent unit in everything. If we don't have children together, yours will be my own. Everything that's yours is precious to me. Do I make myself clear? Yes, don't worry about it. I love you and I want to be with you, I said, to take the edge off. That's good. A woman shouldn't be alone. God created woman for man. How about the other way around? The tension receded, and in his strong arms I relaxed. Everything he did was so pleasant that I was afraid to think how much experience he had, how easily he did it. The main thing is that now he is here and with me, and he says he only wants me. He probably expects me to have great sex, and I don't know if I can surprise him. I've never been with anyone but Victor. Billy's the second man in my life. And now I'm in his arms. I had never experienced such a vivid bliss, but I knew that the main thing was ahead of me. I wanted to give him pleasure and feel the peak of pleasure together. I had never felt so much tenderness, so much care. It was unusual for me. Everything that was happening to us now overshadowed everything that had happened to me before. I adore you, Billy said as we lay looking at each other. I guess I wasn't very convincing. You mean inexperienced? Well, yes, I said, blushing. We just need to do it more often, and the experience will come by itself, Billy said and laughed. Even in the dark, I could see the devils dancing in his eyes. He ran his fingers through my hair, running my overgrown hair between his fingers. I lost my temper at his skillful touch and closed my eyes to keep from drowning in those lakes. But when I opened them, I met his gaze, again full of desire. The next day I came home and my mom didn't ask me anything, which was surprising. Ma, you don't ask me anything. What's to ask? Your eyes told me everything. When's the wedding? Mom, what wedding? What are you talking about? Why are you going to go to his house every Saturday? You have a grown-up son, so think of an answer to such an uncomfortable question. But he's not gonna marry me yet. The main thing is that you were ready for it, and the right answer, smiled Mom. Where did you get the bouquet? It was given to me, and when she saw my surprised look, she said, What? I'm not allowed to be a flowers anymore. Mommy, come on. You're so beautiful. I know you're lying, but it's still nice. My ex-boyfriend came by. He wanted to talk to you. I guess he's not doing so well over there. What's that got to do with me? Maybe I should talk to Nellie so she doesn't hurt his feelings. Don't be sarcastic. It's not good to make fun of others when you're happy. Okay, Mom, I understand. That's fine. I'm gonna go cause Daddy's waiting. No sooner had the door closed behind Mom than Billy called. I miss you already. I want to see you too. Come over for dinner. I'm on my way. Seeing me with my suitcase, Mom opened her mouth and let me into the apartment. What happened again? Is it a new love? I won't live through it, Mom said and plopped down in the chair. I'm going to Washington, I said sharply. To Washington? Who's waiting for you there? I've been invited to work at the Academy of Sciences. They're giving me an apartment. I figured it'd be a good opportunity for a fresh start, don't you think? I don't know anything anymore, son. What's there to advise? You blew your family so badly, and I never thought of Nellie as your family. A greedy bitch who has been living off you all this time. You were right. She's been sleeping with the CEO for years, and he's giving her a bonus in the form of a promotion to department head. What about you? I'm her second in command. I immediately wrote a letter of resignation. Let them do without me. Jesus, Victor, God gave you everything. Looks, height, a bright head, but he didn't give you happiness. Probably he gave it away to someone on the way, said the woman, and waving her hand, went to the kitchen. I called Harvey and told him that I had decided to come, and he was very glad. The city greeted me with good weather. I saw Harvey right away. We shook hands and went straight to the apartment. It was really small. The room was about 12 meters, the kitchen even less. But one doesn't need more than that. It was clean. It looked like it had been recently renovated. Thank you, Harvey. Thank you for accepting the offer. Rest today, and tomorrow at 8 o'clock sharp, I'll pick you up on my way to work. That was the end of it. I walked around the apartment and got settled in. This is where I'm going to live now. I have to start over and not make mistakes that cost too much. I took out my notes. These are my new ideas. I think I'll surprise professors and academicians. For such ideas, it's not a shame to ask for money and open a new department. I fell asleep early because I can't sleep in an airplane. I got up at 6 o'clock, took a shower as usual, and went down to meet Harvey at 8 o'clock. How did you sleep in the new place? Did you dream about anyone? He asked with a smile. No, as you might call it, I slept like a dead man. Harvey and I became friends. We helped each other out many times. He turned out to be a very decent man and smart. Later, he introduced me to his family, where I became a frequent guest. It was thanks to Nikolai that my adaptation in a new city and at a new job went as smoothly as possible. And while I was entering the new team, I got acquainted with the future employees of my department. I was happy to do my favorite work, but I missed my children, thought about Veronica, but less and less often. I realized that everything that could be spoiled, I spoiled. Mom, I haven't seen my dad at school in a while. Maybe he's sick. Well, call him. I did. He's not picking up. We should call Grandma and ask her. That's right. I didn't realize. Grandma, hello. Hello, Alexa. It's been a long time since you've been here. I'll be there. Grandma, where's Dad? He hasn't come to school for a long time. Daddy, come tomorrow. I'll tell you everything. He's not sick. Is he all right? No, my good man, he's not sick. Don't worry. Come and you'll learn a lot of interesting things. Right after school, Alex went to his grandmother's house. Seeing her grandson, she cried, kissed him on the top of his head and said, "How you look like Daddy. Handsome, clever. I ask God to give you more happiness than your father did." Grandma, what are you doing? Tell me, what's wrong with Daddy? When Muse's story was coming to an end, Alex's eyes filled with a veil. Will I never see him again? Come on, Alexa, of course you'll see him. You should go to Washington after high school. With a brain like yours, you should go to the best university in the country. Daddy will help you, and you'll be together. She held the baby close to her. Grandma, why did Daddy leave us? Did he fall out of love with Mom or me and Victoria? Didn't Mom say anything to you? No, she said Daddy had to talk to me man to man. Did he? He said that's what happens when adults stop being necessary for each other. And he said that when I grew up, I'd understand him. But I guess I'm not quite grown up yet, because I don't understand why Uncle Sergey can't take his eyes off my mom and why my dad left so easily. It was hard for him too, Alexa. He regretted it, but he couldn't go back. Too many mistakes were made. Your mom's a wonderful person. She'll be happy because happiness finds everyone, but not with Daddy. That's the way it is, my dear. Your daddy, as a man, didn't take responsibility for the family, and you have to give your mom credit for that. She's a fighter. Daddy loves you and will definitely call you. Forgive him. She gave him a package. Tell your mom not to forget me to call me. And Grandpa and I will come to visit. The boy didn't understand everything. He just didn't know that, in fact, life is simple, but adults persistently complicate it. I decided to propose to Veronica in the spring, right on Women's Day. I called her parents and invited them to visit. Maria was surprised, but promised to be there. I didn't want Veronica to mess around in the kitchen, so I wanted to invite everyone to the restaurant. But I thought about the kids. Alex is a grown-up, handsome guy. I want to ask him for Veronica's hand in marriage. Let him know that his opinion matters too. I came to Veronica early with gifts for the girls and did not leave the kitchen, helping the main girl of my life. When my parents came, everything was ready and the hostess invited me to the table. Filling everyone's glasses with champagne, I congratulated the girls on the spring holiday and looking at Veronica's parents, suddenly became nervous. I realized that Maria had guessed what I wanted to say, but was not going to help me, but on the contrary, listened attentively, looking directly into my eyes. Maria, Harvey, I love your daughter. I want to live with her all my life. I promise not to offend, to take care of her, to help her, to do everything that will help to make Veronica happy. And from you, Alex, I want to ask for your mom's hand in marriage. Alex was surprised. Me? Yes, you. You're the main man in Mom's life, and she cares about your opinion. Mom, do you love Uncle Sergi? Do you want to marry him? It was strange to hear a child say such weighty words. Yes, son, I love Billy. He's a reliable and decent man. And more importantly to me, he loves you. Then I agree, but I won't call you Daddy, Uncle Billy. You be right. You've got one daddy, but I want to be your friend and counselor if you need it. Mom, Dad, why don't you guys say something? What can we say when Billy's already won the hearts of his grandchildren? We want you all to be happy. So that's a yes. Well, of course it is. I took out the velvet box and put the ring on her finger. I wanted to kiss her so badly, but the kids and parents were looking at us, so I shoved my desires away. Today, Veronica and I were even closer to each other, which made me happy. Where are you going to live? Harvey asked and looked at me, but I didn't say anything. You don't keep quiet, Billy. You're the head of the family, and you should have thought about it beforehand. I did. We'll live here and my apartment can be rented out if Veronica doesn't mind. I don't mind because we'll be cramped in your apartment. Ma, I'm going to go to DC soon. My room will be free. You'll have more room. What are you thinking? Don't you have enough institutions here? It's the best university in the country. I'll live with my dad. He'll help me with my studies. What about me, Alex? Mom, I'm going to study. I'll come here for vacations and then Dad will be there. Everyone got quiet at once. The mood dropped and Veronica got quiet. Mom, there's still a year and a half ahead. You'll get used to the idea and let me go. Victoria saved the holiday. She stood on a chair, raised a glass of baby champagne and said, "Let's drink to love." Everyone looked at each other and laughed. Where did you see and hear that? Veronica asked, wiping her tears. On TV, the girl answered and without waiting for anyone, drank to the bottom. Sasha's phone rang and he said with a smile, "Daddy." "Hello, Dad." "Hello, son. You forgive me for not saying goodbye to you. Do not take offense at me. I want to congratulate my mom on the holiday. Give her the phone." "Mom, for you." "I'm listening." "Veronica, congratulations on your first spring holiday. True, it's snowing outside and spring doesn't smell like spring yet, but let it be in your soul. I wish you happiness and your daughter too." "Thank you, Victor. I'm glad you didn't forget. You call because we have children together, and if you are no longer my husband, you will be a father forever." "You're right. You're right. I will call. If you decide to send Alex on vacation to my place, I'll meet him and we'll walk around Washington. I've got a little apartment from the academy, so we'll be fine." "Thank you. I'll talk to him about it. Bye." Bye. I was glad that the ex and Veronica were getting along. 6 months later, I got a call from Nellie. "Victor, hello." "Don't call me that. What is it?" "Victor?" "Yeah, that's fine." "Okay, we're working on a new theme in the department. I've seen your sketches. Can I use them as a basis?" "I've already registered them, so if you take them like my previous designs, you could go to jail for intellectual property theft. You're the head of the department. I'm basically your deputy. So use your own brain, not someone else's." "Victor, I'm sorry. Are you mad at me because of Harry? He's a wimp compared to. Spare me the details. And don't call me again. You're on your own. And you, how are you settling in?" "I'm fine. I made the right decision leaving the department. I can breathe more freely here." "Victor, well, maybe you have something else that's not registered. I've seen a lot of sketches." "I had 2 interesting ideas, both taken to the department and registered. So there's nothing. And if there was, why would I share my findings with you? Give me one good reason." She didn't answer right away. "Well, we were in love once." The key word being once upon a time. At the time, you shamelessly used my ideas as your own. So I'm even with you. Don't call me again, or I'll change my phone number. I didn't feel a twinge in my heart. Nothing. My life is here now. I really like my job. I'm glad I made the right decision. Billy and Veronica's wedding was low-key. It was attended by those closest to them. On the groom's side, his cousin and her husband came, and on Veronica's side, his parents and a few girlfriends with their husbands. The bride was a beauty. Dressed in a beautiful light-colored suit with a rose on her lapel, she looked elegant. The discreet makeup only emphasized her flawless skin and huge eyes. As she picked up her lipstick, she heard it. "Don't paint your lips or I'll smear it all over when I kiss you," Billy asked guiltily. With a nice smile, Veronica replied and thought that before her mom wouldn't let her paint her lips, but now her husband did. "Do you know why I'm nervous?" asked Veronica. It's not just you. My hands are shaking too, Billy reassured her. After the wedding, her husband hugged Veronica. That's it, you're mine now. Say you're mine. I'm yours and you're mine. I became yours a few years ago when you walked into my office. I disappeared. And now you're a married woman. My woman. You're possessive, I see. Terribly possessive. Only I didn't tell you that so you wouldn't change your mind about marrying me. So you mislead me? I'll file for divorce. No, you won't. I won't give you a divorce. Why don't we never talk about such scary things? I don't even want to think about it. Neither do I. The jokes are stupid. And so began their married life. Time passed. Alex graduated from high school, and Veronica by this time was morally ready to let her son study in Washington. When parting, she did not know how not to cry. She hugged her son and told him to call, not to forget, he was loved and waited for at home. All the way to the airport, no one said a word. Veronica looked anxiously at her son, but kept silent so as not to upset anyone. She said goodbye to her son, and Alex was amazed at how much she had shrunk, and there was anxiety and sadness in her eyes. Mom, don't worry so much. I'll call you. We'll talk on Skype. You won't even miss me before I'll be here for the vacation. Billy's strong arms squeezed him in a hug and the men shook hands. Don't be mad at your mom, she loves you. It's the first time she's let you go for so long, and you keep your promise. Call her. Have a good day. You'll definitely go to university. They left when the airplane waved its wings and disappeared behind the clouds. Alex prepared seriously. Victor helped him, but he couldn't get in the first time. What's wrong, son? You didn't answer a question. You didn't solve a problem. No, I did everything. I'll go to the university tomorrow and ask to see your work. I think they won't refuse me with RAS diplomas. He was indeed not rejected. As soon as he saw his work, he immediately realized that the problem could have been solved differently. The inspectors said the same thing. At home, Victor explained to him how deliciously the problem could be solved, and he chose the longest way and uninteresting, although correct. I didn't think of it, Dad. That's a shame. Alex was upset. I'll go home, get a job, and come back next year. So maybe you'll get a job here? I don't know. I'll go and check with my mom. There was a party at home when they opened the door and saw Alex. Billy, my son's here. Veronica shouted. Why didn't you call? We would have met him. Come on, I'm a little kid. He got here all right. That same evening, a family council was held. Son, why do you have to go to Washington to work? You can get a job here and come back in the summer. Billy heard the conversation, but he didn't interfere. What do you think, Uncle Billy? I think that if you're going to work in Washington as a delivery boy or a pizza delivery boy, it's better to stay home, because you can get a job like that here. But if you're going to go to a place in Washington where you can get into a university, then yeah, it's better to go to your dad's place. Billy's right, son. Maybe you should talk to your dad first. Alex went to Washington. His father got him a job at a scientific research institute as a lab technician, and in the evenings they prepared for the exams, which Alex passed the next year brilliantly. Subsequently, he worked with his father and his developments were honored with an award. Alex got married at the age of 30. 2 daughters were born to him. Victor never married again. When asked by his son why he was still alone, he answered, "Such a woman as your mother I will not meet again, and I do not need worse." Veronica and Billy did have a son. Mommy was 43 years old. Old born, that's what the midwives said about her. The boy was a big boy, just like his daddy, so they named him Tony. Victoria became a textile home decorator. She was well versed in the properties of fabric, design, and could create the right atmosphere in the room, a special style and coziness. She was in demand and earned a very decent income. She married a man 8 years older than herself, had 2 children by him, and lived happily in her own house. Even as an adult, she called Billy Daddy, and they had a very affectionate relationship. Nellie quit after a year from the department and went to another city. The general wouldn't even talk her out of it. She tried to blackmail them, but she only hurt herself. So sometimes our rash actions change not only our own lives, but also the lives of our loved ones. And not everyone ends up happy. Everyone knows that it is better to learn from other people's mistakes, but still from year to year, looking for their own rake to step on them to get their own bump.
Thank you for watching this video to the end. Subscribe to the channel. Like it, write comments if you like the story, and see you on the channel.